Good afternoon. Thank you for being here, and I invite us all to once more dive into the question, what actually is a field? Jürgen Kleinwächter arrived on Sunday evening and he listened to the speech of Martin Wieniecki, and he was inspired afterwards to give us his thoughts. Jürgen Kleinwächter is a long-term cooperation partner of our project. He is physicist, he is inventor, and he is a carrier of a huge vision of how energy occurs in our universe, how energy creates life, and how, translated onto a technical level, an energy supply system can be built that is based on total cooperation and no longer on exploitation of our planet. I know him since 1992. He knows about the project since late 70s.
Yes.
He visited the most wild experimental time of our project and gave there a speech, and then he went off and made his research and development of solar energy. We made our path in community and society building, and at a given moment it was clear now the two aspects of Terra Nova can come together. So I'm glad that he is here, and more we walk hand in hand. And he gave the title of his talk he wants to give now is Speculations about Fields.
Yes, good afternoon all together. First I thank you, Maureen, for nice words, and I thank Oscar for presenting this subtle music field. So we are jumping into the field of fields. Music is the most mysterious, the most deep mystery in resonance with our beings, according to me. There's a saying, if someone has no sorrows, he is creating himself sorrows. That was self-fulfilling for me, because when I heard Martin, I said, haha, it's nice, he talks about fields, but need to be a little bit going deeper. And then I realized I know nothing about fields. So there I'm in the trap. But I want to make a strong point out of this. We know nearly nothing. If we look to the complexity and the beauty and the grandiose dimensions, both to the big scale as to the small scale of our world compared to us, we know nearly nothing. We should be a little bit modest. And that's very important. I want to start with this. On the other side, we are not living enough long on the planet to have developed our brain, which has a capacity, I believe. We are messengers of the creation. Every one of us is a little bit individual, different, and I will try to explain you how I see us as super exploration systems, far advanced compared to digital electronics, for example, which are simply dumb but fast, but we are much more. So, having said this, I jump a little bit in the fields. So, Tamera rightly always points out wonderful example of fields. And one of the examples of fields is, of course, the magnetic field and the ferromagnetic particles aligning along lines, which are the power lines of the speculated field. But what is this field? Strange. So Faraday, a genius, experimental, not much mathematics, but he was a genius. He imagined that the space surrounding a magnet is filled with something like subtle membranes. You could imagine superposed, elastic, and that the magnets are acting with forces on these membranes, so giving at every place in the space between information. It's what Delo pointed out. It's very important to see the correlation between fields and information and materialization. So he imagined that along what we call the field lines of the magnetic field, there are maxima or minima, let's not go in details, in the distortion of the space, and there the particles are aligning. Then came a man who was called James Clerk Maxwell. He was a mathematical genius, and he formulated, in a mathematical language, in 3 sets of very famous formulas, the theory of electromagnetism. So the scientists at his time, they said, who has written these formulas? Must have been God. They are so elegant. But also Maxwell, in his imagination, he postulated between the force emitting magnets or other sources of electromagnetic fields, he imaginated a very fine, granulated matter, very fine, far beyond our dimensions, which he called ether. And this ether was the medium he only could imagine, and which is also in the basis, a philosophical basis of his mathematics. Without ether, it wouldn't function. Now I make a jump coming to Michelson-Morley. This is now, we are in the beginning of 20th century, when Einstein came up with his theory about speed of light, which was invariant and not affected either if you send it in the direction of the moving Earth or against. There was no Doppler effect. I'm not going into this. And it was proven that there is no ether existing by Michelson-Morley. But nevertheless, we know the effect of the field is there, forces. That was the same time that something very strange appeared in this world. At the end of the 19th century, the theoreticians of fields, and especially those people believing that mathematics are the complete, correct description of nature. It is not. It's a more accurate language than my English, for example. But it's not showing the holistic thing. It's always cutting out elements and trying to put them together. But at the end of the 19th century, the physicists, and especially those working with force fields, then were starting thinking about the gravitational fields and other fields, said, okay, we have 99.9999% of everything to know, so the final theory will come. And at this moment, Max Planck discovered that the world is functioning completely differently. And it's not, sorry to contradict you at this point, it's not digital. Because the quantum world appearing showed something very strange. That the fields which are postulated in very, very complicated theories, mathematical theories about quantum fields, are enclosed biofeedbacking loops, you could say, creating the carriers of information and of matter at the same time. They are inter-influencing. And that the particles which are in the electromagnetic theory generated by photons who are jumping like this out of the empty space, can exist not just in one place, they can exist at the same time in coherence. If you have a system of, let's say, 100 of these quantums, you have nearly infinite possibilities for them to live at the same time. Something which Einstein wouldn't admit. He said God is not gambling, but today it becomes more and more clear that nature of field and world is statistic. So why am I telling this? I started to say we need, my conviction, and so now my speculation, we know nearly nothing. And I also said that we are not long living on the earth, so our brain up so far is much more made to guarantee us, hopefully, the survival on this planet, not to understand. That's a big difference. And if we are in the most critical situation, again, this is all subjective, I tell you. And I hesitated to give a speech because when I was in Greece and I gave speeches, and there was a man I like in principle, but he didn't like me anymore. He started going up and said, hey, you are Mr. Knowing everything better. I'm pissed, so you better relativate. I said, slowly, what I say is just my subjective impression. And me as an individual and messenger, I'm expressing what I see. When you express something else, that's wonderful. That is how it is thought, because the interference of these things will create something. Okay, I believe that we have to use now our Geist, we speak a lot about Geist here, and I will go in this, rationally to create the conditions of survival. When we have created the conditions of survival in networks of autonomous systems, being independent from the big companies who have us on the hook, we have to work all our lifetime nearly to do things we don't want, to earn money, to get food, energy and medicine from these big companies. So we have all the knowledge, I will come to this, to realize this out of the wiseness and love of the photonic field. That's the field I don't speak about. And once we have this, then we have nearly eternity, nearly means 4 billion years, before the sun will become the red giant and eat us all up. But for 4 billion years, we can start developing our brain as an instrument of really understanding. And if we are clever, after 3.5 billion years, we will have spaceships going with over light speed to Alpha Centauri or other places. Okay, so this dilemma. I started thinking that it was not dilemma, that I was a very lazy student. Because when I was in Grenoble going into these mathematical theories of quantum field and of which makes necessary, very abstract. I never understood one word. I think the professors neither. They only write big formulas of renormation of theories so that they are not coming in conflict with a reality which doesn't accept infinities. And I saw the wonderful mountains of Champs outside, and I got skiing and going to the mountains most of the time. And there where I already was infected by what I discovered only very recently, long time ago. When I was at this time 24 years old, now I'm 72 years old. So I discovered the love of photons. I didn't understand them really. Okay, so I started building my picture. I said, oh, how could it be that Martin also spoke so nicely about that if you go really in the inner world, in the atoms, and you realize they are empty, very relative notion. It means, to give you a picture, if it takes the whole humanity of 7.4 billion people of today, and we bring them together under enormous pressure, so that the so-called empty spaces between are filled, then the whole humanity is in 1 cubic centimeter. 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter. Huh? So what is this? And on the other side, I saw the nearly endless possibilities already in the little things we understand out of physics, nature, music, hopefully art. There are infinite possibilities. So, and we always say, and we repeat it, and I think it's completely true, we are all one. But we don't feel as one. I feel as Jürgen, and he feels as Martin, and she feels as a wonderful woman. Okay. Why is this? I came up with the idea that because we have limitations in our sensors, we have 7 senses we use normally. And the world is composed by millions of actions. For example, we cannot sense neutrinos, we cannot sense gamma rays, we cannot sense frequencies over 20 kilohertz, we cannot, and so on and so on. So because we have these limited sensors, we see only one part of the world. And therefore, we think, as you said this morning, I am not ending at the limits of my body. Only my eyes see the limits, because we have no infrared sensors. If we would have, I would be a cylinder with exponential going down heat around it. So, we are a little bit like a sculptor in front of a block of granite. And before we start making a sculpture, can be everything, we form our inner picture. It's very important. When we have our inner picture and I say, okay, I want to sculpture a flower. I create the flower inside of it. And then, exactly in the reverse mode, you explained how we can get informations in. We bring from inside information to our tactile system, and then we start building the flower. And by doing the flower, we are destroying the granite block. It's only glitter, so we could only produce a flower. If we would be very careful, and today we could do it with a laser, then the rest of the block would be there. Then we could continue to cut out of this block everything we want. The infinity of all the world. So this led me a little bit to the idea that the idea of fields always means emptiness between dots of material, of matter, is not really true. It's only our subjective cutting out of this. Okay, so I could continue speculations, and I have limited time. One day we can do. I'm writing about this at the moment, some science fiction novel I like very much. But I want now to come back to the love photos. And come back why it is so important that we understand that we are much more than just a replica of the most modern technology of today, which is digital, electronics, which may be photonics, and so on. We are much more, because we are composed of these quantums. And inside of us, the information process is on many parallel layers at the same time. So to say, we are sitting here. Only, the point is, you know this from the quants. The quants are very small, separated beings, and you can bring them in coherence, and then they are co-linked with one quantum here on Earth linked with one on Alpha Centauri, one on the other edge of the universe, one in your heart, one there, all existing same time. The moment you destroy the isolation, it is decoherence, it's finished. And unfortunately for larger bodies, the decoherence is a more useful stage. So we are coming in the field of reality, so-called. But it seems that if we are going into meditation, we can, by the techniques and the Delon describes, we are coming into our inners. And then suddenly, even being a macro system, trillions of quantums in us, we are in coherence. And we, in this status, we are jumping over and we see. So, fine. Other point of speculation, I must say it clearly. Now, laying in the sun, thinking, oh, all my life, what did I do? Nearly nothing. Enjoying was good. But then in solar, you start measuring frequencies of light, intensities, spectra, materials, refraction index, formulas. Starts becoming more and more boring and complicated. And then we say, yes, but now I need the last reformation and mathematical trick. And then I really understood it. It's complete bullshit. It's not true. You lay in the sun, you close the eyes, you are happy, and suddenly you feel that besides this for sure existing physical effects, there's something much different in this photonic field. Is love, unconditional love. That's what I have discovered. For me, I can discover it every time. It comes on the rational Geist basis that if you look on the interaction of trillion of photons per time on a leaf, I told you this so many times, it's such a wonderful picture to imagine how this stream of, and you must see this also as beauty. It's not just photons and H time nu, and you can, it is colors, it's oscillation. It's like Oscar's music, but in a quantum group. And it's like millions of melodies at the same time. And they're coming and they see this huge leaf. You must imagine, for a photon, a leaf is as if the photon would be an airplane, the leaf would be as big as whole Portugal. So these trillion are coming, and now comes the most exciting, the most mysterious thing which happens in our surrounding world. That is where the wave, where the field, where the energy, where the beauty, where the love meets matter. The matter of the leaf inside, of course, most important in our world, the water molecules. Now you must see there starts a dance. Huh? Your bodega is nothing against. This is a natural bodega of love, of free love between all colors and all antennas. And it is so beautiful. And it is the first step of cooperation. Because it's not just the physical effect telling you, hey, I am the master of the photons. And I will tell you, I'm a German master, so I will build this apple tree. It will be the biggest in the world. We will dominate all other apple trees. It's not true. It's coming with love. It's producing in harmony with all the other creation, all the effects we have. The oxygen, the apple, the shade, the wind, the evaporation cycle of the water. The coming into the water, think about Pollack's newest discoveries, wonders happening in this interaction. But that's what I feel, and that's why when I'm coming here, I want to go out, I want to swim, I want to be alone many times, and then I need the social contact. Because then I want to hear Martin, I want to hear everybody. And then we should sit together and start this dance of ideas. And then also we should say, unfortunately, we are not yet in the world which is taught by the photons. Because in this photon field, I'm convinced, all these fields, sheldrake fields, all the principles of building the world are inherent. And it's also true, because we have another gift. I still have 5 minutes, I looked at it. So we have the free will, the liberty. It's very precious. So we also have the liberty to do destructive things. And as Dylan says, at the moment, the inner creation of pictures of destruction are creating such a strong force field that most of people are simply sucked in. Be they good or bad, just sucked in. And therefore, we have a very urgent need, before realizing our self-fulfillment, to stop this. And there is time dynamics, I fear, which are very short. Therefore, as also said, we receiving this as messengers of the creation, we are meant as those who are coming with all our talents into coherence and positive feedback with the nature. Therefore, it is so important to have such structures. But then we have to act with a lot of energy. And I believe that we are a little bit our children. If we do our task right, we'll come into the luxury state to develop in joy and art and everything. We are in the status where we have to give our energy, our life to change these things. We are, so to say, light warrior state. We have to win this battle. And then thinking, how could I, as a physicist, hopefully come to these ideas? And I come back to the beginning of my speech, by modesty. Because if I would believe, as my father tried to let me believe, that as a son of a mathematical genius he invented the analog computer, at least I should have a little bit of it. So I must think only mathematically. And I felt very early that this is an impasse. And by getting also so many lectures by Tamera, I rediscovered in my personal life, after 17 years of monkhood, I really was choosing, because I didn't want to go any shallow way in love. So I rediscovered love and the unconditional. Wow! And this, if you really think about it, as Delon said this morning, the man hearing that his beloved said to his friend, I love him unconditionally. And he described what is all starting in your body, the endorphins coming out, all your sensors. This is our superiority against machines. So please, really take this for granted. If we say we will become as perfect as our technical world, we are doing a big mistake. Our technical world is like the tools we invented not to work with our body, with spades and such things. It's just to avoid the boring, long calculations that a digital computer is doing for us. But he never will feel what is behind. He will never feel the love photons. And we have to tell him what he has to do that we come to our target. And I'm sure that Tamera is a fantastic spot, and so I end this speculative speech about fields with unconditional love to us all. Thank you.